I want to start with interest rates. Bank Canada went down another 0.5%. Quarter percent. Yeah. So they went down total of 0.5% now since everything started going up.
Yeah.
Does it make any difference?
It makes a difference because obviously every last bit of debt pretty much that's floating or variable is attached to that. I guess the thing that really, it helps. I just feel like it basically means that our economy is heading into the toilet. So people that gloat about interest rate drops and are like excited for them to drop, they're basically wishing that their neighbor loses their job, right? So,
why?
You know,
they might not consciously wish.
No, they don't realize that. But I mean, ultimately, when the Bank of Canada lowers rates, it means that the economy's in tough shape, right? And I mean, arguably, we're in a recession already. People don't really talk about it because there's been so many immigrants that have been coming into the country that our GDP per capita, I think, is going down, but GDP in general is going up. So our government would just brag, of course, that GDP is going up.
And define GDP.
Gross domestic product. So basically like the overall economic activity, right? And it's also really skewed, and there again, I'm not an economist, but I think it's really skewed because our governments run huge deficits. So a lot of the GDP is actually created by deficit spending at a federal, provincial level. And that's just not sustainable. I mean, there is going to come a point of reckoning where governments will have to have some austerity, and it's going to be painful. And I don't know.
So what do you think it's going to? You think they're just going to keep lowering it slowly, or are they going to?
I think they could do big drops because I think that people are in deep, deep trouble. I think that, basically...
And that won't make...
the really hyper low interest rates created an environment. And even before that, before, the Rona and rates went to the floor, before that, even at a 2-3% interest rate, it really incentivized people to take risks that they probably shouldn't have taken. And it definitely de-incentivized saving. Our whole generation, basically in my whole business life from 2000, when I started in 2002 all the way to now, anybody that saved money and was frugal and saved for something before they bought it ended up looking like an idiot, because the guy that borrowed all the money and bought 10 of them ended up, the house went up.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember buying my first house in Chilliwack in 2003 for $153,000. Well, like the old saying goes, well, I should have bought more of them. Well, that's...
Because that's what, $1 million today?
Yeah, but of course anybody... Yeah, well, or not 800-900, but I mean anybody that bought, 10 of those houses in 2022, which some did in the beginning, they're losing $200,000-300,000 a house right now selling them. So, I mean, it's just... You don't want to have those types of swings, and these big interest rate adjustments cause those swings. And I don't think people realize that. I think everything is kind of debt driven. And even today, at today's rate, you say, hey, is it going to make a difference, especially when it comes to real estate? I mean, nothing cash flows still. You could put 20% down on a house in Chilliwack. And I mean, unless it's got 3 suites in it or something unique, or I mean, the math I do, nothing makes sense.
It was funny. I had a guy come over to my house last week, and he's from Ontario, and he was looking at moving here and looking at all the houses, and he goes like, why does everything have a suite in it? He goes like, any place you buy, brand new houses go up, and they have a carriage house with a suite in it, and so he just wasn't used to that. So it is very geographical as well then.
Okay, and I do think Ontario's probably, I mean, maybe not from where he's from, if he's from a smaller town or a bit,
I think it's probably pretty similar. I think it's pretty similar.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the GTA, there's serious real estate issues, and it's very, very public about, especially the condos, right? And there again, it's speculation, and we need speculation. Speculation's healthy for real estate. It's kind of this, basically you need people that can put money down on condos, for example, in a city, and so that's healthy. It's just...
So what happens if like the government keeps spending the way it does, or what happens if, like, let's say the government changes and Poilievre gets in?
He's going to have a huge mess on his hands. I do not. People think he's the savior, but he's not going to do anything that's going to be pleasant.
What about that? Have you followed those guys in South America that did
in Argentina?
Yeah,
it's going really well. I actually just listened to podcasts with him.
Because they expected it to be really painful, but it's been
pleasantly surprising. Now that, because they had hyperinflation, and there again, I'm not an economist, but like because they had hyperinflation. Or definitely, substantially more than we have, as bad as our inflation is way worse than the numbers say too. So that's the other thing that drives me crazy.
Yeah, that pisses me off too.
It's like, it's so disingenuous to the average person, because people, obviously economists and everybody.
Because what do they say it is right now? What percent? Like 5, 3, and it's like,
or even when they said it was 8, it was 15. You look at
or 30,
or 30. You look at equipment that we bought on our farm or things like that. That are just everything went to the moon, right? But in Argentina,
and food,
And food's bad too.
Food's so crazy.
And you still have to eat. You can do without a lot of things, but you do need to buy the food. So they do care what food costs. And there's no gouging. I mean, nobody's, obviously there's probably some through COVID, but in general, the free market takes care of people that are gouging.
Go back to Argentina.
Go Argentina. They had such bad inflation that just like, I don't know if you've heard this before, but the idea of inflation is almost worse than the inflation. The assumption of inflation for the average person creates more problems than the actual inflation. So when he came in, and there again, I'm just guessing, but I think he came in and he did what he said he was going to do. And it instantly created stability. And that's what that country needed. And nobody else had the political will. And that's the problem in our country too. Nobody has the political will to do the right thing because it doesn't buy votes. And politicians are all about they're about keeping their job by pleasing.
And they get the media in their back pocket to communicate that.
Yeah. So when you say, hey, Poilievre's going to come in and change things, I mean, he might, but he's going to have, 300 or 200 MPs screaming at him saying, hey, my constituents are upset because we're doing this. Well, unfortunately.
How much like painful decisions would need to be made before it turns around? Like
a lot.
3 years?
A lot. Probably more than that. I'm
going
to misquote this.
And what's a practical thing that he would do that
they're going to let people who have government jobs go because the current federal government has hired 40% new staff. And you can ask anyone who's listening to this, when you use a government service, whether it be CFIA or,
suck.
CRA or UR, like they basically tell you when you call. I called the other day. I called CRA. The wait's so long, there's no point even being on hold. And that's with 40% increased spending on public servants, right? So there's just going to have to be some hacking and whacking, and unfortunately, people are going to lose their jobs. And I guess that comes back to the original statement about the interest rate dropping, right? There are going to be people losing their jobs. Some people that are probably already, having a hard time finding work or whatever, right? So that's part of, there's an interesting saying that I've heard before, and a recession is when your neighbor loses your job, and a depression is when you lose your job. And it's like, I wouldn't say we're heading to depression, but there's definitely needs to be some serious fiscal restraint, and that's going to be painful. That's my belief.
And what would you say to people that are thinking of this and are worried and are scared and are anxious about it, especially from a Christian perspective? Like,
I mean, I guess
you're talking to a lot of people. You're talking to a lot of people buying houses and stuff like that, well connected, and you meet these people that are in these financial situations. Like, what are you telling them?
Well, there's everybody obviously has an own unique situation, right? Depending on the person. I mean, first of all, back to the real estate, I always say it's always great to own real estate. So like, people will be like, oh, you're a doomsdayer. No, I've made all my money in real estate. So it's not that I don't agree with it. It's just that, you have to look at the winds of change here and think, hey, like we're heading into some pretty hard times. Just be prudent at least, right? Don't stretch yourself to the nth degree. And I mean, if you're a person who has faith, it's like, hey, the good Lord will take care of you. It's just, and it's not going to help to worry, right? I mean, James says, today has enough trouble of its own, so we don't need to worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it also just means be a bit prudent, right? And like I said earlier, I don't think that the word prudent and fiscal prudence has been lost in our time because it hurt you, right?
Yeah.
So
closest we get to it is calling people a prude.
Yeah. I think that's a different meaning, but.
Okay, but I think it also the culture a little bit has set an expectation of things that they should own, like nice cars, nice vacations, nice all these things, and that and just living beyond our means. Like
I always wonder if it is. Do you think it is? Do you think everybody's living beyond their means, or or are people choosing to spend money on those things instead?
Both probably. Okay. I mean, you probably have the full gamut, but I think a lot of it is just, there's an expectation to have a certain lifestyle. That's what's promoted in culture. That's what's, when you think of someone you respect often, or like look up to, or want to be like, often it's because of what they have. Yeah. I'm not saying that's good. That's just reality, I think.
Yeah. Even in our Dutch culture, right? It's like,
yeah,
we always talk about what the land they have or the house they have or
business.
No, that's true. The business. So what have they built?
What's his name? Money, Possessions, and Eternity. Randy Alcorn has a book. That's the title of the book, and he talks in there. He goes, often even in churches, the people that are put up for leadership are wealthy versus the ones that are not wealthy, even though they might not necessarily be as qualified in all the other areas. Or I'm not saying that's qualification, but that they're like these godly men that maybe, and naturally people will gravitate towards the
people that are successful. Quote by Baars. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a home and there again, credit to my parents, but like my parents were just very content people. Like, I mean, and there's probably different reasons and not all positive, but it's a general rule.
Did they pass it over to you?
They did not pass it over to me. I mean, it's embarrassing. If I had to describe myself, I would say perpetually discontent. Okay. It's awful.
So that needs to be
something to work on. Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.